you from the 37th parallel on America's haunted highway, it's Pixelated Paranormal, your guide to the unusual and the strange.
Oh, is it me? Are we going? Okay, cool. Well, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Pixelated Paranormal. This is episode 323. We're back, and did you miss us? Because I sure missed you guys. With me, as always, is Preston. Presto, what's up, buddy?
Meh. I'm all right. I'm sick.
I know.
So,
Man,
all
yeah,
you-
you're getting down with the nasty jam again.
what's up, all you non-sick people? You cool ghosts and goblins, you crocodoons and crocodingos and skeletons, and witchers and witches and fuck what else? Whatever. Who cares? Probably not dying like me. So go get bent. To your good health.
Oh, Uncle Preston's not feeling his best.
Well,
You're not living your best hashtag best life, are you?
no, I'm not. It's okay,
Poor
though.
thing. Well, I'm not doing too shabby. We just got home from our vacation, hence why we had the hiatus. And we were gone for like 10 days.
Me and my wife went on a cruise. We went to Barbados. Man, fucking peasants.
I mean, if Barbados is in the Bahamas, yeah, maybe we might have stopped there. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, let me brag just for a half a second. We got to go to Texas. I got to meet Kane Hodder. Shayla got to be there for that. That's pretty cool. He was my favorite Jason, of course, playing Jason part 7, 8, 9, and X. That was pretty cool. And then took a little cruise for 8 days, and then came home.
Yeah,
and I need a vacation from vacation.
Did you mention last episode that your wife officially graduated nursing school, and that's why you guys went on a trip? Because if you didn't, dude, what a dick! Like, congratulations to your wife. There, I'll save you. I'll pull yourself out of that whole crap.
I am 100% certain I did mention that, but yes, Shayla has graduated nursing school, and that is what we did to celebrate graduation, was to take that cruise. So yeah, it's a good time, dude. Thank you.
I mean, you could have. Yeah, I have an old man memory. I don't know if you mentioned it or not, but in my mind, you probably didn't. So.
You hope I didn't.
I mean, I don't even know what fucking day it is, so, what the fuck did we even talk about last time?
Hey, that's all right.
Shit.
Yeah, it's been a minute. It was short and sweet. I do recall that. It was a very short episode about the what was that thing called? It was the cow cryptid that you just could not get on board with. And, it's not a cow. Why'd you say it looks like a cow? Well, because he said it had a long cow-like face. That doesn't mean it looks like a cow.
Yeah. It looked like
humanoid of Wisconsin.
It looked like a golem, but you know what? It had a long face with fur, and it had ears like a cow, so I'm going to call it a bovine person. Remind me of old Bessie out in the field.
Like a cow. So that's cow-like to me where I'm from.
I don't know.
From these parts.
Yeah.
Well, we're blowing the dust off of this one, guys. After a brief hiatus, we're back. And to ease back into things, we thought we'd take a different kind of cruise. Rather than cruising down the paranormal highway, we thought we'd share some stories of unusual and supernatural encounters aboard cruise ships sailing the seven seas. So grab a life jacket and get your rubber duckies, folks. And no news on this episode, but the whole idea came about because when Shayla and I were on vacation, we were about to board a ship, and I saw a post from my buddy Bob on Facebook. And he posted a picture of a UFO kind of shining a beam down on a cruise ship. And I commented, that would be actually pretty scary. I wonder if there's any actual stories about abductions from cruise ships. And lo and behold, he sent me an article, which I'll share towards the end of the episode. But anywhoozle, we thought, why not talk about some weird stuff that happens aboard ships? And presto, it's not really any secret that people go on cruises to get away from their daily hubbub, to enjoy themselves, and by many, spending a week or so aboard a luxury cruise ship is considered to be the epitome of vacation. So close your eyes, not if you're driving, but if you're just sitting there listening, of course. Close your eyes and picture this. Some of these puppies, these cruise ships, are 15 stories tall, like floating hotels, complete with multiple bars, pubs, restaurants, even shopping malls all on board. They're almost like entire floating mini cities, complete with every amenity you could ever want. But while you're on board, floating in the middle of the mighty ocean blue, enjoying yourself, sucking down just as many cocktails as you possibly can, only to be rivaled by copious amounts of all-you-can-eat buffets that you can shove down your gullet, no one expects to also experience some good old-fashioned, unexplainable phenomenon. From unexplainable wildlife behavior to weird ghostly encounters, and hell, maybe even some classic alien abductions. But dear listeners, this is exactly what happens in some cases. And even though you're out there sailing the seven seas, apparently cruise ships can be just as scary as anywhere else. So let's kick things off with some UFOs, shall we? July of 2020. So we've had UFO reports that we've talked about on the show from military pilots, Navy ship crews, commercial airline pilots, astronauts, all these reputable sources, right? All of which are reputable witnesses who are trained to spend most of their time scanning the skies for unusual occurrences. But have we talked about any sightings from cruise ship captains? Me says no. So enter Captain Kate McHugh, this nautical navigator. Her name needs to be added to the list of those who have seen very strange aerial phenomenon, because she has quite a story to tell. Now, Captain McHugh is currently the captain of the Celebrity Edge, part of the Celebrity Cruises fleet, but her experience on the high seas goes far beyond cruises. After graduating from California State University Maritime Academy with a degree in business administration, she studied celestial navigation on sailing ships. She interned on a banana cargo ship for Chiquita Brands International and worked as a general deckhand on a tourist catamaran before progressing through the ranks with Disney Cruise Line to staff captain. So, she's pretty well experienced at what she does. After this, Miss Captain McHugh moved to the Celebrity Cruise Line's Celebrity Edge in 2019. So me says she is a pretty credible witness. Anyway, about her UFO sighting. She said, "I was looking at a beautiful sunset when somebody suddenly said to me, 'Hey, what is that there?' I looked up into the sky and I saw it. It looked like a huge jellyfish. There was almost no wind at the moment, no more than about 5 miles an hour, but the object rotated around its axis and flew around the ship at a speed near 29 miles per hour. Then the object began to descend about 400 meters from the stern of our ship and plunged into the water. We even thought about lowering a lifeboat, but there was nothing in the water, no debris. It just sank into the water and simply disappeared. And we know it wasn't a drone. All of us that saw it are sure there was no sound. It completely flew silently." So no one ever found out what exactly Captain McHugh saw, but it's just one in a drop in the bucket of strange aerial sightings. And what kind of threw me off, Presto, was when she talks about it looking like a jellyfish. Remember that story? I think I've shared on the show a couple times. Shayla and I saw something strange in El Dorado off in the southern sky that looked like kind of a pack of like 4, anamorphic blobs. I said was very much akin to a jellyfish.
Yeah, there is this idea that like planets like Jupiter and the other gaseous bodies, that they're actually teeming with life, but because of the gravity and the atmosphere component, that they're really like aerial jellyfishes. And maybe they found their way from one planet to the next, and they're in our upper atmosphere, just floating around, little aquatic bastards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're up there in outer space, in the lack of gravity, I guess you wouldn't really need much of a bone structure or, very much muscle at all, man. So maybe that's what all these alien life forms are, just anamorphic blobs.
Yeah. The seeds of life Panspermia.
Well, for the moment,
right? That's how it got here. Some little like jellyfish from Jupiter or Uranus made its way over to Earth, and then squit squat, and then jizzed out some stuff, and then it took hold, and then boom, this is how we got here, man. Fucking unraveling the mysteries of the universe.
anamorphic blobs.
Yeah. Space jizz.
Anamorphic blobs from Uranus. The joke's too easy.
Yeah. Oh.
Gross. You got just a skosh of an echo, buddy, whenever you get loud and rowdy. Not bad at all.
I'll back off the mic just a hair. Is that better?
That's better.
Oh.
Now, for a moment, let's put a pin in the extraterrestrial talk and move to something more terrestrial, but nonetheless, keep your eyes on the skies. This comes from an anonymous crew member from an unnamed cruise ship. They said it was a beautiful night, and we couldn't believe our eyes when we woke up this morning and saw so many dead birds all around the ship's open deck. This jarring and alarming comment is from an anonymous crew member. From an anonymous crew member on said unnamed ship, and it comes from a video posted online of the scene of hundreds of dead birds discovered deceased on the deck and the stairs of the cruise liner. And on the same ship, another crew member shared this comment: "We woke up with announcements asking not to go on the open decks, not to touch the birds or to feed them. And I thought, the poor birds weren't even alive, and I didn't want to be there. I love animals, and I didn't want to see them, and couldn't help anything. I still can't help but cry, and nobody can give me a reasonable explanation." According to Crew Center, the rest of the crew was stressed and claimed this was the first time they'd ever seen anything like this happening on a cruise ship. The dead birds were quickly removed, the decks were cleaned and sanitized. But still, questions began to spread like wildfire on social media. The biggest being, why the cover-up? Well, I can't answer that, but I did find another semi-related story. Apparently back in 2011, the Wilson Journal of Ornithology, blamed cruise ships on aviation mortality during fall mating season. Lights and sounds invading their natural habitats and confusing the poor birds could account for large deaths in flocks of nautical birds. Then recently, back in 2019, cruise vessels sailing across the waterways in New Zealand were being asked to dim their lights at night to avoid dazzling seabirds, after a flock of roughly 70 Buehler shearwater birds ended up flying into a ship called the Pacific Jewel back in 2018, and thus ended up stunned on the deck of the vessel, some being very young who hadn't yet learned the dangers of flying around big boats, and some, sadly, died, or were at least injured after crew members had boxed them up together in large boxes and then delivered them to the Auckland Department of Conservation once the ship had docked. But if you want to go a little deeper down the rabbit hole, put on your tinfoil hat, because some conspiracy theorists believe that it's actually a big digital boogeyman, aka old 5G, that's causing a malfunction in the birds' internal navigational networks. But there hasn't been anything scientific to prove or even study to back up that nutty notion, so rats. Oh, did I lose your video, buddy? Are you there, Preston?
Yeah, I'm having to blow my nose, and I don't want to do that on camera. I don't think anybody wants to see that.
Okay. Oh, rats. Hey, speaking of rats, let's keep things in the animal kingdom here for a second and talk about something that happened back in 2010. There was this 400-foot-long ship that was abandoned by its owners amidst a massive financial scandal where the owners of the ship failed to pay their crew. That's right, folks. They couldn't pay the crew, so the crew got pissed off, quit, and everybody just bailed. So the owners of the ship just said, fuck it, and left a 400-foot-long iron mongrel in the middle of the ocean. So local authorities attempted to save it and tow it back to the Dominican Republic to be scrapped back in 2012. But due to a series of unfortunate events, just before they reached the destination, the tow line snapped in the heavy waves of the mighty seas, and thus the vessel had been floating with the currents ever since. But here's where things get fun, presto, because despite multiple failed search operations, after the tow line broke, the location of the ship's remains remain undetermined. But experts say that it's still out there because its life raft transmitters have not been activated. Now, to make things a little bit worse, a salvage hunter named Pim DeRudes says that by now the ship will have been full of packs of disease-ridden rats that have most likely taken to cannibalizing each other due to a lack of food. So, there seems to be two possible outcomes right now in this bizarre situation. Either A, over time the ship could possibly break apart and sink, thus drowning the bloodthirsty Cretans. Or B, this ironclad oversized shipping crate will finally wash ashore, delivering a starving, super soggy package of supersized, cannibalistic inbred rats. So imagine the movie Wrong Turn, but they're giant rats or chuds, and they just boom, they wash ashore, the hull cracks, and this is a pretty badass movie that maybe we should have bought the rights for.
Yeah, I know. So the that idea of ghost ships, there was one back in like the 20s or 30s that something like happened to it and the crew got off and it floated around for like 60 years. Like occasionally it would pop up on a radar, but it was so fucking big that nobody wanted to deal with it. And then finally like it crashed into like an iceberg and like, somebody was down in like Antarctica doing like a science expedition and there's this giant ship. Like, holy fuck. So those stories of ghost ships have always fascinated me. John, is it the gold glasses that make you think I do booger sugar? Is that what it is?
It's the fact that you've actually referred to yourself as like a 1970s drug dealer in those glasses before. I think that might be it.
That could be part of it.
That and the Heisenberg hat you got back there behind you.
Hey, you watch out. You watch out.
Hey, it looks good on you, man. I couldn't pull it off.
Oh, thanks.
Anyway,
thanks,
up next, no segue, just ghosts. So when I've been on cruises, presto, I'm spoiled enough to say that I've been on 3 now. As the boat gently rocks back and forth on the ocean, it makes this really eerie kind of sensation happen, where the hangers in your closets and the doors to your bathrooms click and clack and clatter, and you can wake up in the middle of the night and get this sudden ethereal sensation that maybe somebody's rummaging through your room. Maybe somebody else is in there besides you and your honey, or perhaps even a lost spirit destined to haunt your cabin is running amok. Well, one cruise ship that has gotten a bit of talk surrounding the alleged hauntings is the Norwegian cruise line ship, the Norwegian Dawn. This beast is 965 feet long, 15 deck vessels high, that serviced back in 2002 and that started service back in 2002 and specializes in Caribbean cruises. And sometimes it's even rumored to accidentally drift into the Bermuda Triangle. It's also known for elaborate decor, strange artwork, spacious rooms, luxurious amenities, and there's even been some creepy reports of something very spooky aboard the liner as well. It probably makes sense in a way because there's also been several deaths aboard the ship over the last several years. One specific death, though, is one of a woman who's rumored to have fallen from one of the upper balconies all the way down, crashing to her death on the deck below. And now it's rumored the spirit of this woman is said to be most active on the cruise ship. Now, this woman was described as being a young, beautiful woman with short blonde hair, and she's said to particularly like to wander around the 9th and 10th floors of the ship, believed to be the general area of which she had fallen to her doom. Guests have reported seeing her walk along only to vanish into thin air right before their very eyes, or people have also said they've seen her climb onto balconies only to leap back off. Now, in more frightening encounters, though, the ghostly woman appears in guests' rooms, supposedly, in particular, room 9506, 10626 and 10628. One witness called the Dust Man left a report on a website called Cruise Critic of a strange experience in room 9506. He said, "Here's something different for everyone to chew on. My wife, who is a psychotherapist, is convinced that 9506 has some harmless ghosts messing around inside. She claims that the dividing curtain between the bedroom and living room was picked up as if by a hand, held, and then dropped a few seconds later. Now, I never saw it, but she's positive that it happened, right in front of her eyes. And she is a mental health professional. I had nothing but good vibes in there, and so did she. Don't seem unpleasant or unkind at whatever it was, but she said there was no gusts and no wind. Nothing. It just picked it up off the floor, about 3 feet up, held it, and then the curtain dropped. Weird." Now, this report is keeping with the general consensus that this ghost is not malevolent or frightening in any way, and it's never even been speculated that she doesn't even know she's dead. But she's still spooky all the same. Now, another report comes from a commenter known as Kevin Crushing on the same website, but this time he reveals a relatively harmless yet still unsettling nature of another entity. He said, "We have 2 connecting balcony rooms, 10626 and 10628. My wife and I were in room 10626, and my sister-in-law and her boyfriend Rob were in 10628. During the day, we kept the connecting door open and closed it at night. We also opened the balcony, so we had one long balcony. Now, Friday night, we went to bed, and during the night, Rob rolled over and went to put his arm around Judy. She wasn't there, so he went to roll over to see if maybe she moved to the other side of the bed. As he started to roll, he had seen a woman sitting on the edge of the bed. He thought that it was Judy, and he said, 'What are you doing?' But Judy was on the other side of him, still in the bed, and she cried out, 'Sleeping!' Well, he realized that this wasn't Judy, and he continued looking at her as the woman with blonde, shoulder-length hair sat at the edge of the bed. He thought it might have been my wife, Nancy, who's also blonde with shoulder-length hair. And he said, 'Nancy's in here. What do you need, Nancy?' And Judy said, 'Rob, you're talking in your sleep.' Rob replied, 'I'm not sleeping.' Then the woman stood up and had a light suddenly around her like an aura. She was smiling, and then she continued smiling as she floated towards the closets in the room, then disappearing before entering the closet."
Rob
now, there's
just
other ghosts as
blew
well,
his chance
supposedly.
of having ghost head.
Right? Man, has he not seen Ghostbusters? Now, on the Norwegian Dawn, there's supposedly some other ghosts as well, oftentimes being seen going about their business like they were still alive, not even aware of the fact that they had passed on. And in some cases, spectral forms can even be seen cleaning the rooms or cooking in the kitchen late at night after staff have gone home, only to evaporate into thin air right before the witnesses who lay eyes upon them. There have been many reports of such activity by not only guests, but also paranormal investigators who come to check out the area and do a little ghost hunting. One paranormal investigator named Amy Bruni, actually from the show Ghost Hunters, was on a cruise from New Orleans to Mexico with some others, and says she had her own strange experience on the ship. She said, "We had knocking on our door, 3 raps, then down the hall, each door, as if a steward was checking on each room. No one was in the hall, and it happened for a couple of hours. Then our TVs went nuts for a while, and most of the activity happened to be going on during a storm." Which is kind of weird, and also why I wanted to bring up the idea that when you're in that ship and it's a rock, it makes some pretty strange noises. I've had a couple nights where I'm just like, oh my god, there's somebody in here with us. But another cruise ship claiming to be haunted is a well-known vessel called the Wind Surf, a 5-mast behemoth known for being one of the largest sailing ships in the world, and perhaps maybe one of the most haunted. Now, specifically on this ship in the spa area, it's said to be frequently haunted by shadow figures, moving objects, lights flickering on and off, and water faucets turning off and on by their own accords. A few of the eerie tales on board this liner were recounted by the cruise ship worker named Brian David Bruns in his book, Cruise a la Carte. And they're pretty odd. One account he shares was told to Bruns by another crew member. The crew member said, "I've noticed things moving behind the desk a lot. But you know, the melon slices that we keep in an urn of drinking water? Well, one day I heard a strange gurgle or something like that, and I looked over in the direction of the water urn. In a blink of an eye, the melons vanished. Then, splat! Right in front of me, right in the middle of the desk, the melons reappeared. Soaked all my paperwork and everything." There was also another time I was doing paperwork. It was about midnight, and a guest walked right past me. Now, I saw her clearly as she passed by. A middle-aged woman, long brown hair, and a t-shirt that made her look chunky. I told her we're closed for the night, and she just walked right through the spa into Natalie's massage room. I followed right behind her, calling out, because I was angry. Actually, because I had a pretty bad day with some stupid passengers complaining all day long. I was going to give this lady a piece of my mind, but when I got to Natalie's room, I flipped on the lights, and nobody's there.
Oh, she was just looking for a happy
So the windsurf
ending. I mean, come on. Look at that.
Go towards the light.
The
windsurf also had some more resident ghosts. The windsurf also has some more resident ghosts outside the spa. The cruise director and the shore excursion manager both swear they've seen an apparition floating in the hallway outside the purser's office midship. This phantom is said to be a shadowy yet over-outlined man from the waist up. Both knew instinctively that the phantom was male, though no features could be seen other than a hazy head and shoulders.
So wait, hold on. So you said from the head up, he's blurry and hazy, or from the waist down, like.
The way I read that is the phantom is more or less like a torso, shoulders, and a head. There's nothing like below like the belly button.
Oh man, he ain't got no ghost dick. That's gotta suck.
Not that we can see. He might have a phantom limb if you catch my drift.
Yeah.
Well, as we wrap up the episode, we're not done yet, but as we wrap it up, let's take things back up to the top where we ended. Where we began is where we're going to end with aliens. This is from an article that my buddy Bob had sent me after I commented on his Facebook post. Apparently back in 2011, 187 cruise ship passengers were said to have gone missing in that year alone. Now, authorities believe that many have been abducted by aliens. I don't know if authorities really believe that. That seems like a stretch. But anyway, let's go with it, guys.
I don't know. Authorities might believe in that.
On the evening of April 9th.
Coming out in aliens. They might be like, fuck, we don't know what happened to them.
But this is back.
They didn't go overboard, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, they certainly didn't drown. Nope.
Yeah.
This is back in 2011, though, dude. So
bad
we don't have
publicity.
any Tic Tac videos,
Yeah. But it's bad publicity if, like, what the mobsters get them, like, you're going to, like, the Bahamas, like, Jamaica, like, the fucking gangsters are, like, ripping people off the boats. Like, that's bad publicity. So, fuck yeah, they're like, people are getting abducted, and all those alien people are like, ooh, take me. Whoops.
Right. You're telling me I got to worry about more than just pirates and getting kidnapped off of a beach. There's also aliens? Fuck going on a cruise. I lost my place. Hold on a second. Okay. On the evening of April 9th, 2011, Martin Quimbley, 45 years old, packed up his suitcase and left it outside his door of his cabin on the Queen Mary 2. It was the last day of a week-long cruise, and the ship was due to dock in New York City the following morning. At about midnight, he texted his sister back home in London. At 12:30 a.m., he was seen by other passengers drinking cocktails in an upper deck bar. But then after that, he seemingly vanished. Since then, he's never been seen. There have been a number of mysterious disappearances of cruise ship passengers in 2011. Many believe they've just fallen overboard, but cruise ship liners deny these allegations. We have cameras everywhere and have made it almost impossible for a passenger to fall off accidentally or even jump. This is a quote from Carnival Cruise executive Elizabeth Shoemaker. And I will also follow that up, man, because they say if you throw something off your balcony into the ocean, it's like a $500 fine or more. And I've heard of people spitting off the edge of their balcony and it being caught, which to me also kind of really invades privacy. But I mean, maybe it's a small price to pay for stopping someone from jumping off a ship. They also go into heavy detail when you get on the ship. You've got 2 hours to go to the nearest little meeting room and actually get debriefed on how you should act if you fall off the ship and what you should do if you see somebody fall off of the ship as well. So I mean, I kind of want to believe that, but also maybe some damage control in there as well. Anyway,
you think every balcony has cameras hidden in it? They're just fucking constantly monitoring everything you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, I could see that. On the edge of your balcony, maybe it shoots down to where it just catches the rail, so they don't see anything going on, behind the rail, so to speak. Because I'm telling you what, dude, if you go swimming all day and get back to your room, I'm known to get on that balcony in the buff and hang up my swimsuit to dry it off. So I mean, I guess if you're into that kind of thing, I'm short, hairy, and hard to carry. So
fucking air drying those
say hi to
balls,
Andy and
man.
everybody on the Carnival Dream.
Yeah.
Right. It was cold, I swear. The UN's panel on extraterrestrials has gotten involved because Dr. Susan Begley, one of the world's leading ufologists from Limerick Island in Ireland, said that these alien cruise ship abductions appear to be part of an ongoing alien invasion, which began back in October. This thing's getting off the rails. The pattern is clear, says Begley. We have interviewed a number of passengers who were believed to be missing, but later found. They all describe the alien abduction in detail. Dr. Begley and the UN believe that aliens from the planet X are the ones abducting cruise ship passengers. But why cruise ship passengers? We're not sure. They're just out there at sea. Maybe it's easier for the alien spaceship to swoop down undetected, grab a few passengers, and disappear.
Or could it be because you're in international borders? So think about when the Roswell crash happened. Think about this for a second. Okay, I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on. Bloop bloop bloop. So when the Roswell crash happened, and then you had that treaty with Roosevelt. And all the world leaders are sitting in this thing, and they're making deals with these aliens, and they're like, "Listen, motherfuckers, you can't abduct anybody off of U.S. soil. God damn it, this is America. You go get those people elsewhere." And so now you got all these fuckers on cruises, and the aliens are like, "International waters ain't America, baby." Bloop, and they just pluck them right up. Makes total sense. Because then if you had that deal with any other country, they're just like, dude, get the fuck out of here. You ain't taking us from Germany. You ain't taking us from Russia. You ain't taking us from here. International waters, baby. There maritime law. Anything happens. Anything goes. So they're just like, free reign, baby. Bloop, 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 bloop. Abduct, abduct, abduct. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Yeah. Dude, tinfoil that shit.
That's funny, man. That'd be a really great plot for a film as well, and also a great loophole as far as Eisenhower getting all this alien tech and really springboarding us forward technologically. And then the aliens come back, and he's like, "I told you couldn't have any of the humans." And they're like, "Fuck you, asshole! They're on soil. They're not on U.S. soil. They're in the ocean.
Yeah, they're in the ocean. What now, bitch?"
Yeah. That also reminds me, there's a story that we haven't covered yet. I think it was called the Coronado event. Have you heard of this?
No.
It was a mass alien abduction that took place at a hotel somewhere. The details are all foggy. We'll have to cover it one of these days, but it's also going to involve buying a book and reading a pretty lengthy book about it because there's a lot to be said about it. But I mean, a cruise ship, that's right for the picking, right? Why not just swoop down there, take everybody, and then bloop, everyone's back except for, maybe you're wearing your wife's dress and you're in the wrong room.
Yeah.
Anyway, every time my Google Doc closes, I lose where I was. Oh, there we go. The pattern's clear, says Begley. We have interviewed a number of passengers who were believed to be missing, but were later found. They all described the alien abductions in detail. Blah, blah, blah. Planet X. Okay, here we go. But why cruise ship passengers? Well, we're not sure. But they're out at sea, and it may be easier for alien spaceships to swoop down undetected, grab a few passengers, and then disappear.
I like my idea better.
Passengers
Fuck
that
you,
were
whoever wrote
abducted.
this article.
I know. The passengers that were abducted are not talking to the press, but Dr. Begley said the transcripts of interviews with the abductees would be released in 2012. Citizens around the world will be surprised. The aliens do not want to harm humans. They're just doing research. And actually, the abductees feel more alive after they were abducted than before. They've all had positive experiences with their abductions. Cruise ship liners are all denying, of course, that any of this ever happened. That's nonsense. Our cruise ships are the safest place to go on vacation. This malarkey about aliens is just that. It's malarkey, said Captain Scott McThomas of Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines. I don't know what to say, Preston. Now, I didn't want to finish things off on such a goofy-ass story, so we got a few minutes here. I got one more tale here, guys. Take your tinfoil hats off, because this one's just bizarre, but I'm not saying it's aliens. Now, I'm going to read this pretty quickly, paraphrase just slightly off of MysteriousUniverse.com. I found the article just shortly before we recorded. Written by Brent Swanser. It was the summer of 2005, and a 26-year-old George Smith was in one of the happiest times of his life. He just got married to his girlfriend Jennifer Hagel, and the two were embarking on a 2-week cruise through the Mediterranean. They were going to visit Greece, Turkey, and Italy, and some other places as well. They departed from Barcelona aboard the Royal Caribbean International Cruise Ship, MS Brilliance of the Seas, on Wednesday, June 29th, 2005. And they did just so. They left upon the ship, and things were about to go from amazing to pretty dark. On July 4th, the couple was halfway through their cruise and had spent the day exploring the Greek island of Mykonos, after which they had a romantic dinner before hitting the casino and then moving on to the ship's disco. They seemed to be thoroughly enjoying themselves, and up until that moment, then things got strange. Everything was going so well without incident. And at the disco, they ran into some other people they had met during the cruise, including another newlywed couple, a young man from California named John Baskin, and a group of 3 Russian-American men by the names of Greg and Zach Rosenberg and Rostolav Kaufman. They all ended up sitting in the club together, drinking, and according to some eyewitnesses, they had a bottle of absinthe that somebody smuggled aboard the ship. Now, I'm going to pause you right there because you're going to say to yourself possibly, there's no fucking way you're going to get a bottle of absinthe on a fucking ship. Dude, customs and security, they're fucking tight butthole. Well, I'm going to tell you a little story about how they're not so tight butthole.
Well,
the drinks on the cruise lines are really expensive.
I'm going to say absinthe that you get nowadays actually missing one key ingredient, and it's illegal to put wormwood in it. So unless you got that bottle from some third world country where they're not FDA regulated, it's actually not real absinthe. It just tastes like like a really weird cough medicine green liqueur. So now what?
Well,
because
I've had it. You're not wrong, man.
I've had it
you
without
can get quota. Yeah,
yeah, and it didn't do shit.
Yeah,
it just tasted bad. I'm just like, Jesus.
You can get absinthe. You can get absinthe in air quotes here in the States now. But remember, they took this tour, this honeymoon through Greece, Turkey, and Italy, and some other places over in Europe. I don't know how far the FDA goes. I don't know. Do they go all the way into Europe, or is that just more of an American
I
thing?
mean, most places have outlawed it because they
it's pretty fucking rough stuff.
Right, because so many
the
people,
Green Ferry or whatever, the Green Pixie.
Yes, so many people throughout Europe and the United States in the late 1700s, early 1800s, like were chopping off their hands and seeing pink elephants and stuff. But eventually, once they discovered what was like doing it, they outlawed having that as a key ingredient. And so now there are some places, yes, Possibly Russia, that you could probably get the real deal where they don't care as much, right?
Mhm.
But just because you're on a cruise ship in Greece, like that shit ain't fly over there. It ain't gonna be the real deal. So I don't know. I'm just I'm
I
pulling a
would.
little
I'm gonna.
Scully. I'm pulling a little Scully.
You're fine. I'm going Team Mulder, saying they got a hold of it somehow, right? But when we were on this cruise recently, the second cruise we took, I bought a drink package, $1,000 for all you can drink. I put a hurt on this thing, dude. There were days I should have been in the hospital for the amount that I drank. And let me pause right there and say, folks, at Pixelated Paranormal, we beg you, we cannot stress enough, please drink responsibly. I drank like a horse, dude, and barely caught a buzz. And I have a pretty low tolerance to alcohol. So I'm telling you right now, I feel like personally, my drinks are watered down. So on this last cruise we took, I didn't buy a drink package. It's a waste of $1,000. So we just bought drinks as we wanted them. And pretty much any drink you wanted after gratuity was like $15 a pop. So we would have like maybe a drink a day. When we got to Nassau, little island of the Bahamas, we got off the ship, went to the beach, went to a little rum shack, and we had some things called like rum balls. They were pretty good. Local rum mixed with some fruit puree. Then we went to a little gas station and realized you can get these little like 12-ounce cans like the size of like a Red Bull. And they were like 8% alcohol. It was rum mixed with natural sweeteners and lime, and they were freaking awesome. So the lady at the register, she's like, look, you can take 6 of these back on the ship per person. And I said, you got to be kidding me. These are $2 a pop, and they're, more potent than the drinks I get on the ship. She's like, yep, 6 per person. So he said, terrific. Give me 6 of them. Got on the ship, went through the customs, went through security, got on the ship, no problem. Boom. Low price drinks in our room. Then we had a brilliant idea that, wait, we should go get more. So with 20 minutes to spare, I ran off the ship in flip-flops, ran down the pier, ran into the little town, ran to the gas station, bought 8 more back on the ship, bada boom, bada bing. You're only allowed to bring 6 on. I'm not saying this happened, but what I am saying is the guy who ran the security said, hey, I count 7 cans in here. And I looked at him being honest and slightly buzzed, and I said, there's not 7 in there. There's 8. And he's like, go. So I got all 8 cans on the ship. So I'm just saying that sometimes on these cruise liners, they're a little loose butthole when it comes to security. So if you side with me and say maybe they got a bottle of the good stuff, I'm going to say they probably got it on with not too much fuss. Anyway, when Smith and his wife retired for the evening, they were very drunk. So drunk, in fact, that Hagel would be found the next morning passed out in a maintenance alcove in the hallway. Even so, she came out of it better than her husband she came out of it better than her husband, because her husband would never be found. On the morning of July 5th, Smith was nowhere to be found, but although the man himself could not be located anywhere on the ship, there were some rather sinister things found in the vicinity of his room. They found bloodstains on the awning of the cabin's balcony, as well as bloodstains on the lifeboat canopy directly below the cabin's balcony, which led to the suspicion that he had been so drunk he went on the balcony and fell down below, thus bouncing overboard. This was what officials with Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines believed after a brief and cursory investigation, but the police had other ideas. For them, this was a possible homicide, and they would indeed uncover a slew of strange clues. Authorities would begin interviewing people who had seen the couple or been with them the night before, as well as Hagel, who had been found blacked out in the hallway and claimed to have been having no memory whatsoever of the previous evening. The group of men they had been with were questioned and painted a clearer picture of what had happened the night before. Askin would tell the police that Smith and Hagel had been arguing throughout the night due to the fact that she had been getting flirted with by other men, in particular, a handsome crew member by the name of Lloyd Botha. Apparently, at some point, Smith had had enough, and the couple had gotten into a huge fight that ended with Hagel storming off, apparently, with Botha in tow. The men then claimed that they had escorted the heavily intoxicated Smith back to his room and left there with him on the bed to sleep it off. After which they had gone back to their rooms, ordered some room service, And the ship's keycard system would confirm that he had been dropped off at his room at exactly 4:02 a.m. The cabin, blah, 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 skip that. The claim was that when they left Smith in the room, his wife was nowhere to be seen, and they assumed she had gone off with Botha for a little fling. All pretty intriguing and scandalous so far. But one thing that didn't quite add up was that although it was reported that they had ordered a huge meal from the room service after dropping Smith off, the crews had no records of the three men having ordered anything. A minor point perhaps, but odd still. But there's also the fact that despite their insistence that Hagel had left during the disco with Botha, his employee card informed that he had in fact left a long time before Hagel had left the club. But more ominous still is that neighbors of Smith's cabin would report later they had heard some sort of commotion in the room at approximately 4 a.m., which was described as being a lot of cheering, then yelling, followed by a loud conversation, like a party going on. And then one witness would report hearing at least 3 voices coming from the cabin's balcony. Then the noise died down. Witnesses reported seeing 3 men leaving the room, which was strange, since 4 men insisted they had gone there to drop Smith off. Where did the other guy go? Did he stay behind? And if he did, why did he stay behind? After 3 men left, a single voice was purportedly heard from within the cabin, speaking in a normal tone, and there was also the sound of furniture being moved around, off and on for about 10 minutes, after which there was a moment of silence before a loud, resounding thudding noise. And I'm going to tell y'all too, man, you think hotel room doors and walls are thin? Man, in your cabin on a cruise ship, you can fucking hear a mouse fart next door. Those walls be thin.
You can hear everybody fucking on a cruise ship. Shit.
Mm-hmm. You can hear what part and how hard it's getting slapped.
Man.
It's unknown what the sound would have been, this loud thud, but authorities speculated it could have been the sound of Smith falling off the balcony and hitting the deck below. No one was seen to enter or leave the cabin after that, and odd since the frustration of those investigating, the cruise ship had no surveillance cameras that would show the corridors, the halls, or passageways leading to the cabins. So again, this is kind of strange too. We know the three Russian dudes or whatever, but now the story goes that 4 people led the intoxicated guy to the room, only 3 left. So like, did 2 people fall off the ship? Anyway, it's also unclear where Hagen had been during all of this because she was estimated to have left the club just after 3 a.m. and was not seen again until around 4:30, out in the hall after she had been put back into a room by crew members who had found her again in that alcove. But they didn't take any time to look around the room, they just dropped her off. Where had she gone and what had she been doing during that time? Nobody seems to know. For her part, she claimed that she had obviously no memory of what had happened after the disco, and even stated that she believed she might have had been drugged, making this all even more weird. Was that a more careful examination of the room that could have turned up a small droplet of blood on a bedsheet or a towel inside the cabin? Nobody knows, because no one did a good job of looking around. So all this casts the 4 men last seen with Smith in a brand new light. And there are renewed efforts of the investigation into them. It was quickly found that the 3 Russian men had a long list of complaints from other passengers and the crew of the cruise, being described as rowdy, belligerent, unruly, and just plain rude. The passenger would also go on to later claim to have had been raped by the 3 men on the cruise, and there was even a piece of footage found on their cell phone showing them talking about Smith's death, and although they say nothing truly incriminating was found, they speak of a tragedy in a decidedly callous tone. Adding to this was that Askin would fail an FBI polygraph test about his version of the events, while none of his concrete evidence... Sorry, let me get another drink here. While none of this is concrete evidence as to what they had to do with such a vanishing as Smith's, it's certainly suspicious. Attorney Michael Jones, who represents Smith's family, has said that these men, the evidence suggests that Josh Askin and the boys knew more than they had let on, and it's time for them to come forward and talk about George's disappearance. Anyway, in the end, no one has ever been formally charged with anything to do with Smith's disappearance, and his body has never been found. The cruise company itself has admittedly stood by its decision that it was a simple drunken accident, and they have been criticized by Smith's family as for not doing much into the investigation and accused of trying to cover it all up, leading them to pursue civil lawsuits against the cruise line. In the meantime, though, the police and the FBI have done all they can to pursue it and have come to the conclusion that there is insufficient evidence of murder. George Smith's family does not agree and has offered a $100,000 reward for information leading directly to an arrest or conviction of the case. Now, so far, the money remains untouched. The money remains untouched, though. In the end, it all remains unofficially an accident. And we are left to wonder just what happened to the man and what all of the desperate clues mean. Was that blood in the room? Hold on a second here. Why was that blood there in the room? Who was with him that night, and what did the neighbors hear? We may never know. So yeah, shit's creepy, dude. Shit's creepy. If you go on a cruise, you gotta be super careful. Well, that concludes our episode for this week.
Man, look, I'm going to make this short and sweet. I don't got anything written up for Dobbs because I'm sick and I feel like shit. But look, go over to BigDobbsBeerBomb.com. Use promo code PXLPARA for 20% off your order. Bay rum, fresh, citrus, mint, classic, sweet tobacco. The new one is what's the new one? Titan, Trojan. I don't know. It's a new Spartan. There you go. Yeah, dude, that's my favorite that I got right now. I use that daily. We're up to 27 subscribers on Rumble, so thank you all you conspiracy nut jobbers out there. Nice. Yeah, you know, share with all your friends.
Birds are real.
Yeah, 314 subscribers on YouTube. So we're growing, you know.
Oh, yeah, dude.
We're growers, not showers. So, or maybe it's the other way around. If you're on a cruise ship and your name is Sean. That's it. That's all I got. Dude, let's fucking take this home so I can go take Mucinex and try to get some sleep.
Hell yeah, we'll do it, man. Speaking of followers, 1,083 on Instagram. So thank you guys for all following us and following along on there. If you're in the Wichita area, stop by, see Leslie and the rest of the gang down at CD Trade Post Pawnee and Seneca. Check out Paranormal Egg Experience, the food truck, and Paranormal.cafe, the brick and mortar store. Sweet action. Thanks everybody for joining us. Sorry we were gone for a couple weeks, twice in a row. But, you know, I'm going to raise this glass of water and say cheers to the weird shit in the world, and those of us who love to talk about it.
Man, and stay spooky and stay on the paranormal highway. And don't forget, wash your hands. Very important.
Yeah, don't pick your nose.
Don't pick your nose.
The cast at Pixelated Paranormal would like to thank you for listening to this week's episode. Pixelated Paranormal is here to tell you tales of the fantastical, the strange, the unknown. Tales that will move you a little further down the paranormal highway. If you'd like to share your own listener story, we would love to hear it. Email us at pixelatedparanormal@gmail.com. Again, that's pixelatedparanormal@gmail.com. We'd really love to hear from you. Again, thanks for listening to this week's episode of Pixelated Paranormal, your guide to the unusual and the strange.